Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, good evening. How are you doing? I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. And tonight, we are spending a little time remembering Justice Antonin Scalia and also talking about our time for choosing. Our time for choosing. Look, I want to remind you that there are so many ways to listen, so wherever you're at, set this channel as a favorite so you don't get left behind. Because if for some strange, crazy reason you miss the show, just sit back. There's no need to panic. I've got you. You'll be able to catch the podcast later. In the case you aren't already following on social media, find me on Twitter at Stafford Voice or over on Facebook. All you have to do is just search for the Stafford Voice. Also, while you're out there in the interwebs, be sure to give some love to the station and our affiliates. And you can stay up to date with the things that are going on out there in the world by heading over to thestaffordvoice.com. I try really hard to get stuff out. This week was a horrible week. I had a hard time with stuff, and it just didn't quite work out the way we were hoping. But I want to talk to you tonight about Justice Antonin Scalia. I want to spend a little bit of time remembering who he was, some of the things that he had said, try and give you a better perspective of the shoes that somebody is going to have to fill eventually. And then after that, I want to spend some time talking about our time for choosing. Well, remembering Justice Antonin Scalia. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey on March 11th, 1936, and was an only child. His father, Salvatore Eugene Scalia, was an Italian immigrant from Sicily who would later become a professor of Romance languages at Brooklyn College. His mother, Catherine Louise, was born in Trenton to Italian immigrant parents and worked as an elementary school teacher. And after 8th grade in public school, he got a scholarship to Xavier High School, a Jesuit military school located in Manhattan, where he graduated first in his class of 1953. In that same year, Scalia enrolled in Georgetown University, where he graduated valedictorian in 1957 with a Bachelor of Arts in History. He studied law at Harvard Law School, graduating magna cum laude in 1960. He was later to be nominated to the Supreme Court by President Ronald Reagan in August of 1986, only to be confirmed on September 17, 1986, where he met no opposition and was confirmed 98-0. Now, one committee member, the Democratic Delaware Senator Joe Biden, later stated that he regretted not having opposed Scalia, quote, because he was so effective. Now, as a justice, he asked more questions and made more comments than any other, and he even provoked more laughter. He described himself as an originalist, meaning that he interpreted the Constitution of the United States as it would have been understood when it was adopted and opposed the idea of a living constitution. And the idea of a living constitution is the power of the judiciary to modify the meaning of constitutional provisions to make them adapt to the changing of times, per se. Well, he was a devout Roman Catholic, and he married Maureen McCarthy on September 10th, 1960. They met on a blind date while he was at Harvard and while she was an undergraduate at Radcliffe College. They had 9 children, 5 boys, 4 girls. Scalia died in his sleep from natural causes sometime between the night of February 12th and the morning of February 13th at the Cibolo Creek Ranch in Texas. I don't want to talk about the conspiratorial ideas that he was murdered, that somebody put a pillow over his face and strangled him, because none of that happened. He died in his sleep. Could he have had a heart attack? Maybe. But he died of natural causes. Many times I've awoken in the middle of the night with a pillow over my face. My wife is dead asleep. And it's just because I toss and turn. Everybody does. I want to dismiss all of the conspiracy theories out there. If you are one of those people that believes in a conspiracy theory that somebody out there killed Antonin Scalia, you might just need to go look in a mirror and realize what could be the problem in the direction that this country is headed. But that's not what this is about. This is about remembering who Justice Antonin Scalia was. And as a matter of fact, it's rather enlightening, per se, to take a look at what someone who happened to be the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as political ideology, I guess you could say, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There's no denying that they were polar opposites. However, they were really, really good friends. Over the weekend, she issued an official statement where she said, quote, "We disregard now and then, but when I wrote for the court and received a Scalia dissent, the opinion ultimately released was notably better than my initial circulation. Justice Scalia nailed all the weak spots, the applesauce and argle-bargle, and gave me just what I needed to strengthen the majority opinion. He was a jurist of captivating brilliance and wit, with a rare talent to make even the most sober judge laugh. The press referred to his energetic fervor, astringent intellect, peppery prose, acumen, and affability. All apt descriptions. He was eminently quotable, his pungent opinions so clearly stated that his words never slipped from the reader's grasp. She concluded her remarks by saying of her treasured friend, It was my great good fortune to have known him as a working colleague and treasured friend. Their friendship stretched back many years, back into the mid-90s, I believe. And since then, they had actually had dinner together every New Year's Eve since. This is something I want to touch on a little later when I talk about our time for choosing. How even though these two individuals were polar opposites when it came to ideology. One was extremely liberal. One was the definitive conservative. Yet they were friends till the end. So I want to touch on some things, and I apologize if I seem a little scatterbrained about this whole thing because I'm still a little disturbed. My heart is very heavy that we have lost such a giant. I've pulled together some quotes that he has said over the last few years, and I think they highlight some of who he was. At one point, during a question and answer session, someone had asked if a constitutional convention would be in the nation's interest. And this is interesting because there's a lot of talk out there about a constitutional convention and whether we should go forward and have one or not. There are a lot of mixed feelings. We have yet to cover that here on the show, but eventually I think we may have to put a couple of thoughts together and talk about it. But his response was, a constitutional convention is a horrible idea. That is, this is not a good century to write a constitution. On constitutional flexibility, he said that that's the argument of flexibility, and it goes something like this. The Constitution is over 200 years old, and societies change. It has to change with society like a living organism, or it will become brittle and break. But you would have to be an idiot to believe that. The Constitution is not a living organism, it is a legal document. It says something and doesn't say other things. Here's one on politically appointed judges. As long as judges tinker with the Constitution to, quote, do what the people want, instead of what the document actually commands, politicians who pick and confirm new federal judges will naturally want only those who agree with them politically. On one of his more recent opinions, this was on the ruling of gay marriage. To allow the policy question of same-sex marriage to be considered and resolved by a select patrician, highly unrepresentative panel of 9 is to violate a principle even more fundamental than no taxation without representation. No social transformation without representation. If, even as the price to be paid for a fifth vote, I ever joined an opinion for the court that began, quote, the Constitution promises liberty to all within its reach, a liberty that includes certain specific rights that allow persons within a lawful realm to define and express their identity. I would hide my head in a bag The Supreme Court of the United States is descended from the disciplined legal reasoning of John Marshall and Joseph Story to the mystical aphorisms of the fortune cookie. Well, what about being a good judge? If you're going to be a good and faithful judge, you have to resign yourself to the fact that you're not always going to like the conclusions you reach. If you like them all the time, you're probably doing something wrong. On the decline of the Supreme Court, he said, day by day, case by case, the Supreme Court is busy designing a constitution for a country I do not recognize. When talking about being an originalist, he said, on this day when we're celebrating our constitutional heritage, I urge you to be faithful to that heritage, to impose on our fellow citizens only the restrictions that are in the Constitution, not invent new ones, not to invent the right because it's a good idea. He talked about where freedoms come from and where they don't. He talked about how freedoms don't come from freedom of speech or freedom of the press. It's not the right to bear arms that keeps us free, nor is it the right to, quote, be secure against unreasonable search and seizure, or to a, quote, speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. The reason America's basic freedom has endured more than 200 years, Scalia said, is not the amendments to the Constitution, but the Constitution itself. Quote, every tin-horn dictator in the world today, every president for life, has a Bill of Rights. That's not what makes us free. If it did, you would rather live in Zimbabwe, but you wouldn't want to live in most countries in the world that have a Bill of Rights. What has made us free is our Constitution. Think of the word Constitution. It means structure. That's why America's framers debated not the Bill of Rights during the Constitutional Convention of 1787 in Philadelphia, but rather the structure of the federal government. Quote, the genius of the American constitutional system is the dispersal of power. Once power is centralized in one person or one part of the government, a Bill of Rights is just words on paper. Well, what about his faith? From time to time, he would use his faith, and he was very open about it. The two of them here I found rather fascinating was when he was talking about the Pledge of Allegiance and the idea of separation of church and state. He said, quote, I think the main fight is to dissuade Americans from what the secularists are trying to persuade them to be true, that the separation of church and state means that the government cannot favor religion over non-religion. We do Him, God, honor in our Pledge of Allegiance, in all our public ceremonies. There's nothing wrong with that. It is in the best of American traditions, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I think we have to fight that tendency of the secularists to impose it on all of us through the Constitution. This one, I enjoyed this one. This one is really, this one really highlights some of his sarcasm, if you will. This was on the existence of the devil, where he said, "You're looking at me as though I'm weird. My God, are you so out of touch with most of America, most of which believes in the devil? I mean, Jesus Christ believed in the devil. It's in the Gospels. You travel in circles that are so removed from mainstream America that you are appalled that anybody would believe in the devil. Most of mankind has believed in the devil for all of history. Many more intelligent people than you or me have believed in the devil. Just a giant of a man who had probably one of the greatest grasps on the Constitution. Very, very well respected amongst his colleagues, amongst those in Washington, and a very beloved man. We have a difficult task ahead of us, and that is to try and fill the empty void which his loss will leave. I've spent many hours since the news of his death in prayer, hoping for some guidance on what to do and how to help guide our country in the right direction. And I'm still at a loss for words. He was an incredible man, incredible father, incredible husband. He will forever be missed. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about how this is our time for choosing. Our time for choosing. We'll be right back.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name.
I'm not the type of guy that jumps into anything without first doing my research. And when I was looking for a holster, I'll admit I was having one heck of a time. You know what I'm talking about here. You find one you like, you try it on, it would be clunky. Another one fits good, but costs way too much. So you try on one last holster, it was slim, lightweight, priced right, but lo and behold, you slide your pistol in, and it falls right out. So what do? You've tried all these mass market holsters. Well, go custom. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. Too pricey. Wrong. My guy over at Rebel Road Tactical will not only put together the perfect fitting, hand-molded, hand-assembled, custom Kydex holster, but you'll get it at an affordable price. Don't wait. Contact Rebel Road Tactical today at 682-217-4579. Again, that's 682-217-4579. Place your order.
It's the dramatic reinvention of talk radio.
Here come the spy dolphins.
The only thing that can cure racism is Robert E. Lee's penis.
Who named this cat Limberbutt McCubbin? A Trump-Biden debate.
Plugs versus rugs. Real serious nonsense. The show's so bad, you'll laugh at us.
The worst podcast. We obviously hold that title.
Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Some crowdfunding sites are too liberal and keep more for themselves. Even worse, if they don't like you or someone gets offended, they'll cancel your campaign. But not at RWNJ Funding. They hold true to conservative and libertarian values. Plus, they won't cave to the PC crowd. More importantly, they believe in you. RWNJFunding.com. The right cause, the right values, done right. RWNJFunding.com.
Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. That's right. This is the Stafford Voice. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and we are conservative in a world of liberal. Now, earlier I teased you the idea that this is our time for choosing. During one of the greatest speeches of all time. Ronald Reagan once said that, quote, "If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth." And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election, whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. In that speech, he said it was a time for choosing. We again today are faced with a time for choosing. Not a time for choosing. Our time for choosing. We have to single-handedly choose whether we want to go in the way of socialism, which will ultimately lead to communism, or whether we want to continue down a path of self-government where we will enjoy the liberties and freedom that our founding fathers so put forth their lives on. If you don't believe me, go and look up Karl Marx. Karl Marx will explain to you that capitalism leads to socialism, which will ultimately lead to capitalism. Or to communism, I'm sorry. We have now, in our election where we are getting ready to choose the lesser of so many evils versus an unapologetic socialist. He is not afraid to say he's a socialist. He doesn't care. It's who he is. He genuinely believes this. On the other hand, we have to choose someone who right now comes across as a petulant child, who, when he doesn't get his way, he resorts to name-calling, calls you a liar. It's okay. Call me a liar. It's time to find someone that will stand up for the Constitution. Someone that will not be afraid to back down. I want someone who will stand firm. Who, when they say they will do something, actually does it. Again, we're faced with a time to choose. The last few elections have been the single idea that if we don't win this election, we're going to lose everything. We run that risk. We've got to pick this guy. We've got to pick that guy. If we don't pick our guy, we're going to lose. The fact of the matter is this. We've lost the last two election cycles because we put forth someone that didn't agree with 80% of what we stood for. Are we willing to do that again? Or are we ready to stand behind someone who is principled? We do not have time to risk. We don't have time. Time is not on our side. We risk losing everything that our founding fathers put their lives on the line for. Day in and day out, they hid in the shadows of trees and behind buildings, plotting and planning how to come up and write and present to the American people something that no other place would be able to copy. Many times it's been labeled as the greatest experiment ever to be tried. And that's true. On paper, it doesn't work. Yet it still does. Nobody knows better for you than you. Eight years ago, there was a person standing on the stage that promised grandiose things. There was a guy that promised that if you elect him, he will be able to control the rising of the tides. He will be able to unite the world. He promised huge things. He promised to give you free things. Four years later, he did the same thing. Now we've got another guy that's promising to do the same thing. Give you more, give you more. One of those guys is an unapologetic socialist. And just today, the leading candidate for the Republican Party came out and said, because he is so damn butthurt, he came out today and said that the RNC is not fulfilling their obligation, and he's threatening to do an independent run again, even after he signed the pledge that he wouldn't. How is he any different than Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama? Explain that to me. Please. Explain how he is any better than Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. He's all talk. I am completely baffled by the idea that so many people out there back him. Is he paying them? You want a conspiracy theory? That's one to get behind. Is the leading Republican right now paying people to support him? It's unreal. We have to choose. What do we want? Do we want to continue down the path that our founding fathers put forth before us, that gave us hope of liberty and freedom? Or do we want to go down a tragic path of socialism, which will ultimately lead to communism? I know what I want. I want to continue to be free. I have great fears for this country. I know that I'm not alone. The death of Antonin Scalia added a new dimension to this election. Right now, we are one Supreme Court justice away from losing our country. If you would have said that 4 or 6 or 8 years ago, you probably would have been laughed at. However, Now, we're being threatened by a president, by a sitting president, that he's going to hurry up and fill the void, fill the vacancy on the Supreme Court with someone of his choosing. We also know that somebody in the Supreme Court could likely be pushed out soon. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Justice Ginsburg is likely to be out of the Supreme Court soon. And somebody, a young uber liberal, willing to bend over and kiss the ring of the president, will wind up being put in her place. Now you'll have how many ultra-liberal judges willing to kiss the ring of His Majesty? Is that the nation that we want to live in? Or do we want somebody who is willing to stand firm and interpret the Constitution the way it is written, do we want somebody willing to defend our liberties and freedom? Or do we want to elect somebody that wants to build a tower that blocks the flame of liberty? This is our time for choosing. We have to unite now. We cannot wait until after the elites pick who they want to go against Sanders or Clinton. We have to unite. So many people out there talk about Reagan this and Reagan that. We're not going to get another Reagan. We could have our Reagan. Reagan would never get elected today. Never. We have to be willing to admit that to ourselves. Jesus Christ would not even get elected. There are things we have to accept. One of the things we need to look at is, if we want somebody to fill the shadow of Reagan, we have to start adopting some of his rules and principles. And we have to make sure they fit with the principles of conservatism. Reagan threw out the idea that if somebody matches 80% of the things you're looking at, go ahead and support them. But right now we've got somebody out there that is causing more division within the Republican Party, within conservatives, within libertarians, that the party cannot unite. He's done, there is an individual out there that has done more damage than the Democrat Party could ever do. Are we willing to give that up? In my heart, I don't believe it. I hope and pray that when it comes down to the bottom line, people are willing to turn off the TV salesman and turn on the flame of liberty. Right now, if it came down to having to pick between one or the other, one guy has caused so much division within the party that his supporters will never vote for anybody else in this election unless it's his name. What does that remind you of? It reminds me of 2008 and 2012. You can either kiss the ring of the president, or you can kiss the lion mane of you-know-who. We've got serious, serious work to do, people. What price are you willing to bear to make sure liberty and freedom continue? Are you willing to stand firm like those who built this country? Or are you willing to cave just for something for nothing? This is our time for choosing. Every time you make a decision, it comes with consequences. Those consequences will last far beyond your life. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's change the mood. We've had a pretty heavy mood all night, talking about and remembering Justice Antonin Scalia and talking about our time for choosing. Let's change the tone. When we come back, we're just going to have some fun with some Who Said That. We'll be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
Lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty-conservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe, and no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
round.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey?
Today.
Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whether you're an employee or business owner, when it comes to the correct course of legal action, it's the first step that is important. And make that first step with attorney Ted Hong. You need someone you can trust and has the experience you need when it comes to workplace and employment law. If you've lost your employment due to discrimination, false accusations, or being denied benefits, you need Ted Hong. Or if you're an employer who wants to ensure compliance with workplace regulations and labor contracts, you need Ted Hong. Ted and his team also cover family and property law and estate litigation as well. Ted has over 30 years of experience, and him and his amazing legal team will provide you cost-effective legal consultation and make the experience all about you and your needs. For more information or to set up a consultation, contact the law office of Ted Hong at 808-933-1919 or visit tedhonglaw.com. Ted Hong, an experienced and principled attorney you can trust. 808-933-1919 or tedhonglaw.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, we are back. That's right, this is the Stafford Voice. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and we are conservative in a world of liberal. It's ridiculous out there. It's raining liberal dogs and liberal cats all over the place. It's frightening sometimes. But you know what's even more frightening? What we've got lined up for Who Said That? And I think it's that time. That's right, it's time for another edition of Who Said That? Whether you're liberal, conservative, libertarian, Republican, Democrat, it does not matter. If you're saying something completely and utterly stupid that removes all doubt of how far you are stuck on stupid, well, we're going to share it with other people and we're probably going to laugh at you. So, and this week, my wife found this one. When she played this for me, I about fell out of my chair. I don't know if it was because I was going to throw up or if it was because I was laughing so hard. Maybe it was because I was laughing so hard that I wanted to throw up. I don't know. But nonetheless, I want to share this with you. You guys decide when we're done. Oh, this is a prized possession. Check this out.
Skeptical. I've had other matches before, Santorum, Huckabee, Christie, and they've all left me hanging.
I'm still looking for that perfect match. Someone who hates Obamacare just as much as I do.
With GOPHarmony.com, your search is over. Just take our short quiz and GOP Harmony will match you up with a candidate that is as out of touch with reality as you are, or more.
I wanted to find my match easily without the constant disappointment. I also don't want to let Mexicans and Muslims in the country.
I have no idea how the economy works, and that's okay, because neither does anyone on GOP Harmony.
We measure over a dozen metrics to determine which uninformed GOP candidate matches with your views.
I match with Marco Rubio on GOP Harmony, because I believe Barack Obama knows exactly what he's doing.
Exactly what he's doing.
You know, I want a candidate who is as excited to melt my heart as they are to melt the polar ice caps.
If you're the kind of person who other people don't like being around, then GOP Harmony is perfect. You will find a slew of candidates exactly like you.
We knew we found the perfect match when we heard those three magic words. Defund Planned Parenthood.
GOPHarmony.com. Please clap.
Okay, you gotta admit, that's funny. Whoever it was that put out the GOP Harmony thing, funny. But seriously, they're poking fun at the idiocracy that has happened over the last how many months within the Republican Party. And it does show a level of their ignorance because they're making fun of Republicans making fun of them. So really, they're making fun of themselves. Oh, Jesus criminy. It's redonkulous. Oh, the ignorance is so strong with this group of people. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna go on some matchmaking site that tells me which candidate fits my views? No, absolutely not. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Oh, whoever it was that put that together actually has a good sense of humor. However, they are completely stuck on stupid because they don't even know that they were making fun of themselves while they were at it. Oh, anyway. Wow. I don't know about you guys, but it has been one heck of an evening. I have to kind of apologize for the heaviness of the show. My heart still goes out to the Scalia family. And the idea that so many people are willing to say that he was murdered and conspiracy theory this, and I don't know what I'm more sick of, those people or the liberals who, as soon as the news was made, these freakazoids went out onto Twitter and started bashing him and congratulations for his death and this and that. What level of person are you to congratulate someone on dying? That is a new low. That's a new low. Absolutely disgusting. To think that it's okay and to have your supreme leader going out there and jumping on the bandwagon and saying, immediately we're going to get down to this and we got to put somebody in his place. Unreal. I mean, can we not give anybody any time to mourn at all? The Scalia family, no time to mourn. The Supreme Court, no time. I guarantee you that Justice Ginsburg would like to have had some time to mourn the loss of her friend. Aside from that, Scalia wouldn't want us to worry about him. He knows the extent of the work that we have ahead of us. He knows better than anybody. It's just so sad and so sickening that people have to resort to that. Oh, ridiculous. But you know what? Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for tonight. God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back on Thursday night to talk to you about, well, whatever happens between now and then. You can follow me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. You can look me up on Facebook by searching for the Stafford Voice. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you guys this early on in the show, but I've been making some changes to the website, to thestaffordvoice.com. I've been making some small, subtle tweaks, and so far I like the way it's coming along. It's a little more user-friendly, a little more, it's a lot less intrusive of all of the crap that you find on websites. I'm trying to slim it down and make it way more friendly for those who like to read the news instead of just getting their sound bites on mainstream media. My focus will be on the content and not so much on the ads or anything like that. I absolutely hate ads. I run ad block. I have to shut the ad blocker off on my own computer in order to look at my own website. It's kind of, I don't know if that's funny or ridiculous. And I don't even have any, I only have like 2 ads on there. But nonetheless, do me a favor, head over to thestaffordvoice.com. Tell me what you think, how you think it's coming along. We've made some small, minor tweaks. I'm interested to know what you guys think about them. Again, you can follow me on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. Look me up on Facebook if you need a little more than 120 to 140 characters. All you got to do is just search for the Stafford Voice. Email your questions, comments, or concerns, or even if you've got some news tips and you want us to cover a story, you can send those to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and until next time, thanks and God bless.